NFL star Damar Hamlin remains in critical condition after suffering cardiac arrest mid-game. Isabel Rosales is live in Cincinnati with the latest.
Fans and players have been holding their breaths, anxious for any positive updates as to Hamlin's condition. This is now day 2 of him in the ICU right behind me at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center, where he is after that cardiac arrest. He is sedated and, as we understand it, undergoing treatment and testing as well. Horrifying moments unfolding in Paycor Stadium as the Buffalo Bills face off against the Cincinnati Bengals Monday night. Bills safety, 24-year-old Damar Hamlin, suffering cardiac arrest and collapsing moments after getting up from an open field tackle on Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins. Emotions running high as his fellow players, fans, and millions of people watch on at home as CPR was administered. Then cheers cutting through the fear on the field after Hamlin's heartbeat is restored and he's rushed to the hospital.
As players, injuries are always our deepest fear. And we glamorize this sport simply because of the financial stability that it can provide for our families. But often, we tend to try to remove any of those thoughts the moment we hit the field, that injuries are real and that they exist in this sport.
The NFL postponed the game, saying next steps will come at an appropriate time.
I've never seen anything like it since I've been playing. So immediately, my player hat went on. And how do you resume play after you've seen such a traumatic event occur in front of you real time?
He has a strong family. He has the ideal support system. They're optimistic. Damar is someone that you would trust and believe to come out on top of anything that he is faced with.
And some of Hamlin's teammates, they stayed here in Cincinnati. The rest of the team, they traveled back to Buffalo this morning. Live in Cincinnati, I'm Isabel Rosales.
Well, it's a new year, and with it, a new Congress. Democrats have control of the Senate, while Republicans have the majority in the House. But now a battle is underway over who will be the House Speaker. Chris Wynn joins us from Washington to break it all down.
Mark, good afternoon. This was supposed to be a celebratory day for Republicans in the House, but the 118th Congress is already off to a rough start. California's Kevin McCarthy failed to clinch the Speaker's gavel on the first vote, which hasn't happened since 1923, but he isn't out of the running just yet. On Capitol Hill Tuesday, it's out with the old.
The chair declares the second session of the 117th Congress adjourned.
And in with the historic.
The House will come to order.
The 118th Congress is the most diverse to date, with record-setting numbers of women, Latino members, and members who identify as LGBTQ.
I think it's more about sort of the overriding principles of building a Congress that looks more like America.
A record-breaking 149 women now serve in the House or Senate, including 42 Republicans, the most ever for the GOP. Lawmakers, however, are assuming their seats in a divided Washington. While Democrats maintain control of the Senate,
the Senate will come to order.
Republicans now control the House. The differences between and amongst the two parties already playing out on day one.
McCarthy.
California Representative Kevin McCarthy, favored to become Speaker of the House, facing a once-in-a-century challenge from GOP hardliners.
We may have a battle on the floor, but the battle is for the conference and the country.
The stakes are high. Congress can't function without a speaker, as the leader is responsible for determining the order of business and legislative agenda in the House. Division on the Hill will also likely be a major obstacle for President Joe Biden, as he faces an uphill battle to push his priorities through Congress. But the White House is optimistic bipartisanship will win out.
We are looking forward to working with congressional colleagues to continue to move the country forward for the American people.
Again, the magic number for McCarthy is 218 votes. In the meantime, House Democrats have nominated Hakeem Jeffries of New York to serve as the leader of the minority chamber. This will make him the first black lawmaker to lead a party in Congress. Reporting from our nation's capital, I'm Chris Wynn, Hawaii News Now. Mark?
Chris, all of this is just absolutely fascinating. Now, what happens if McCarthy falls short again on the next vote?
Mark, as you know, it's extremely rare for something like this to happen. There's really no precedent or playbook to manage the chaos that could ensue out of all of this. However, there are a few options for the GOP. The first, McCarthy could keep on negotiating with the holdouts. Secondly, they could rally behind an alternative candidate. Or third, the possibility of members introducing a resolution for a plurality vote. It's highly unlikely, but not outside the realm of possibility. Mark?
Wow, completely amazing. Chris Wynn from Washington. We'll be keeping a close eye on this. Thank you very much. We appreciate your insight.
Also, new at noon, we've got some brand new interviews just into our newsroom from Representative Jill Takuda and Ed Case. Let me play that out for you.
So, what is the crash course like of learning the ropes in D.C. as far as the ins and outs of this place, setting up your office and staff?
Crash course is an understatement, first of all, but I will tell you, we've spent the last few months just vigorously preparing every single aspect of today, literally down to making sure the leis were here, the flowers in front of my door, my outfit, I was able to get, which actually is the Ku'e petition. It was an anti-annexation petition that was actually presented to Congress 125 years ago. Everything the last few months, but still, we've come to this moment, and I can't help but feel overwhelmed with everything else that we now need to do, first and foremost, to serve the people. So standing up that office, making sure that there's a phone that they can call, responses can be given, help can be done. So this has definitely been a crash course, an intense moment I'm feeling right now, but I'm just so excited to be sworn in officially and hit the ground running.
What's your pet legislation going to be this Congress?
I've got a lot of pets, actually. I mean, number one, going back to the Indo-Pacific, one of the bills that I worked very hard on over the last couple of years was the Blue Pacific Act, which was to re-engage our country fully in the Indo-Pacific, including the Pacific Islands. We got a lot of that passed over the last Congress, but some of that remains undone. And so I'm clearly going to be going back to all of the unfinished business, including the Blue Pacific Act. I expect to continue on the Appropriations Committee. I expect now to be a pretty senior member there with some areas of specialization, especially in the Indo-Pacific. And in Hawaii, of course, to deal with direct Hawaii issues, we have a huge issue remaining with the Red Hill fuel tank facility, which we have now appropriated over $2 billion to, but we need to continue that work. So if you want to ask me what is the number one thing that I'm going to focus on, it still is to defuel and close Red Hill.
Hey, more political news just into our newsroom. Honolulu City Council holding its first official meeting of the new year. 4 council members just took their oaths of office at the Hale, including first-timers Matt Wire, Tyler Dos Santos Tam, and Val Okimoto. We have a reporter there in the chambers. We're going to have much more on these new council members coming up on later editions of H&N. Well, the state's fireworks laws have become a joke. Literally, the abundance of illegal aerials over the weekend have many on social media cracking up and also calling for change. Here's Jolani Martinez with more on that.
Honolulu EMS described it as a brutal new year for first responders. Once again, lawmakers and residents are calling for changes to the fireworks laws. One lawmaker tried sarcasm to get her point across.
Just wanted to give you guys an update on the fireworks. Where we are, there's no illegal fireworks. Everyone is respecting the fireworks laws this evening.
West Oahu State Representative Kanani Souza posted that video on New Year's Eve to show that Hawaii's fireworks laws really aren't working. Councilmember and part-time comedian Agi Tolba got the joke, saying his side was also amazingly quiet. This is what it really sounded like.
And it was to bring awareness to the fact that we have fireworks laws in place, very strong fireworks laws, but there's no enforcement and people do not seem to be deterred by the current laws that are in place.
HPD hasn't released the numbers on this year's enforcement, but last New Year, police made just 1 arrest and issued 45 citations. It's been 12 years since Honolulu banned most fireworks, including sparklers. Souza says it's time for a new approach.
I think that fireworks, the ban should be lifted. I think that the laws are ineffective, and until enforcement can happen and we can get all of that infrastructure in place, then the laws are simply ineffective.
I think, yeah, they should go back to the table and renegotiate it, and not only get politicians' opinions, get the people, the community, you know. It's not going to stop. This is our tradition. We grew up, I was born and raised doing this stuff, so.
No, our tradition was never making bombs. That was never a tradition. The bombs you see in the sky in a residential area was never a tradition. Legal fireworks, 10,000, 5,000, that was our tradition.
Senator Kurt Favela says the city and county should do away with fireworks permits and only ban aerials, which are typically responsible for most injuries.
Aerials is too dangerous in this condensed area. This is not like before when we raised here in Eva Beach, there was no houses. It was only cane fields and a few houses. We're too condensed, too much homes around. So those kind of activities will cause damage and injury, and people can get hurt.
Jolani Martinez, Hawaii News Now.
After a holiday disaster, Southwest Airlines is being sued. A passenger is pursuing the suit, saying the airline is in violation of federal law by offering credit toward future flights instead of providing prompt refunds for cancellations. A federal judge in Louisiana has been asked to certify the lawsuit as a class action to include other passengers. No comment yet from Southwest. Now let's send it over to Howard Dykes, who's taking a look at what this month could hold for flights.
Yeah, these are the places sending us the most flights. These are flights, not seats. That's why the numbers are smaller than on some similar reports. On all of the January numbers are smaller than December because January is typically a less busy month. LAX sending more than 600 flights this month, and this number is augmented slightly by a small number of flights from Long Beach, Santa Ana in the OC, and Ontario Airport east of LA, but not enough to make a big difference. SeaTac is second with 570 flights this month. SFO is third with more than 400 flights, but when you add Oakland and San Jose, the Bay Area as a whole sends over 900 flights, surpassing even the Los Angeles area. We're getting more than 350 flights from all points in Canada, surpassing Japan. Most of those flights come out of Vancouver, of course. Dallas is sending more than 100 flights. Now that's two airports, DFW plus Love Field, American plus Southwest. San Diego and Phoenix will each be sending us more than 200 flights this month. Seoul this morning is under 100 flights for January, while Oceania is still over 100. Oceania refers to all airports in Australia that send flights here, plus the Auckland Airport in New Zealand.
All right, thank you, Howard, for that update. What do you say we get a check of your local weather? Here's Billy V in for Guy Hoggy.
A weak front that's going to be coming through the islands tonight. So that'll arrive, will start its way from Niihau, Kauai, and make its way slowly down the island chain. So that's going to be Tuesday going into Wednesday. It'll be traveling through the islands. Thursday, it'll kind of stall and dissipate around Hawaii Island. And then after that, we get into a period of drier weather. You can see Friday, Saturday, Sunday, light winds, lots of sunshine here before we get the trade winds back on Monday. But once again, past the showers of tonight and tomorrow, it's going to be nice weather for this week.
Hawaii is not alone in feeling the impacts of plastic pollution on our beaches and in our waters. It's really being felt around the globe, including in Africa, in the country of Kenya. That's where our next report takes us. Here's Larry Manoa.
The ancient city of Lamu, a popular part of the northern coast of Kenya, but the Indian Ocean brings more than just tourists to the Lamu archipelago. Tons of marine litter is also washing up on these shores, mostly plastic. They pick up what they can, but more keeps coming.
It was manufactured in Indonesia.
Definitely, I've never seen this being sold in Kenya. Fast Clean, never seen this.
That's not a brand from here.
That's not a brand that's sold over here.
It's manufactured in China.
China. Nestle noodles, don't recognize them over here.
Kenya banned single-use plastic from protected areas, including beaches, but they're still being manufactured locally and piling up all over the coastline, a major headache for the local government.
We're more receivers of the plastics than the givers of the plastic. This plastic is dumped elsewhere and drifts to our shores. I guess we're a magnetic place. And we hope we can also attract good things and not just junk.
Biti, who calls herself Mama Plastiki, has been collecting that junk from her community for 35 years, but there's nowhere to take most of it.
We don't have a market for this plastic, so it has slowed us down a little. We had 2 people working on this, but we ran out of money, so we're stuck with it.
Even this better funded effort to clean up plastic from around Lamu is barely scratching the surface.
The mountains of plastic waste just keeps growing here on the Kenyan coast and is threatening the oceans, the mangroves, and the tourism industry here.
Discarded plastic is sorted, then crushed at this facility, breaking it down into smaller particles that can get molded into something more useful.
This is incredibly strong. This is a product of sorted, crushed, and washed plastics. They give this.
And it could revolutionize construction.
This one gonna utilize where timber is used. We can innovate and put whatever is lying in their backyards to something useful.
These boats are leading a scientific expedition to study the impact of marine litter on the East African coast. Its organizers, the Flip Floppy Project, say this is the first time such research is being carried out on this part of the West Indian Ocean. The scientists are measuring the presence of nano, micro, and macroplastics in the ocean.
What do you hope to learn from the samples you're collecting?
For the first time, we'll be able to understand how deep can you still find plastic pollution. Most focus has been on the surface. Now I want to understand because actually even most of the organisms, they live underneath.
By 2050, without intervention, there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean, the UN has warned. Some of it may build the next sailing boat like this one, made entirely of flip-flops. But most of it just suffocates marine life and coastal communities.
Someone needs to pay for this. This is not something that these communities and us as local organizations can support and solve. Yes, we are contributing to it, but it's a global problem. It's no different to climate change in that respect.
Recycle, reuse. Residents here are doing every bit they can to tackle a global problem at the local level. Larry Manoa, CNN, Lamu, Kenya.
Well, some disturbing video there, for sure. Let's lighten things up, guys, and take a look at some of the viral internet headlines that are trending right now. Guess who's back? Al Roker set to return to the Today Show later this week. The iconic weatherman has been out since November, and we have missed him here on KHNL. He was hospitalized for a blood clot that traveled to his lung. The medical issue caused him to miss the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Day Parade and the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting. He'll be back on the desk on Friday. I love seeing his co-anchors go Christmas caroling at his house this past holiday season. It was a very special moment.
And it's been rough to have him out, but so good to see him back out into the mix again. And some more news from the royal family. Prince Harry, the British royal, is now promoting his upcoming memoir that discusses his childhood, the loss of his mother, and living in the U.S. In a clip from a recent interview with Anderson Cooper, Harry explains how he's tried to keep his conversations with his family private, but leaks to journalists have made them public.
One of the criticisms that you've received is that, well, okay, fine, you want to move to California, you want to step back from the institutional role, why be so public? You say you tried to do this privately.
And every single time I've tried to do it privately, there have been briefings and leakings and planting of stories against me and my wife. You know, the family motto is never complain, never explain. But it's just a motto, and it doesn't really hold.
There's a lot of complaining and a lot of explaining.
Endless.
Private being done through leaks.
Through leaks. They will feed or have a conversation with the correspondent, and that correspondent will literally be spoon-fed information and write the story, and then at the bottom of it, they will say that they've reached out to Buckingham Palace for comment. But the whole story is Buckingham Palace commenting. So when we're being told for the last 6 years, we can't put a statement out to protect you, but you do it for other members of the family, there becomes a point when silence is betrayal.
Always so intriguing. The memoir titled Spare releases next week.
Yeah, I've been watching the Netflix docuseries as well. Very interesting insight from Prince Harry and his family drama there as well. All right, let's get to some good news now. There is a bunch of bird watchers flocking to California to get their eyes on something very special. Jeannie Mose explains.
It's a head scratcher, all right. How did a snowy owl that normally lives in the Arctic tundra end up amid the palm trees of Southern California?
I consider it an honor to be able to see the bird.
Bird lovers are flocking to Cypress, California to get a peek.
It's so exciting to see a bird that does not belong here.
Yeah, well, not everyone is excited.
There were all these crows that were just dive bombing it and trying to scare it away. And the owl was just unfazed.
Not so unfazed. The birder who posted this video, Nicholas Ballardis, admits, "I teared up." A marine biologist told the New York Times it's like seeing Santa Claus on a beach. Wildlife experts are watching the owl like a hawk, even to the point of climbing up a ladder to retrieve a pellet regurgitated by the raptor.
Oh, so a treasure right away.
The birds expel the indigestible parts of their meals, so the Wetlands and Wildlife Care Center decided to check on the owl's taste in California cuisine.
This looks like the skull. Yeah, look at that. The skull of some kind of rodent.
We know what it ate, but we don't know how it got here. Is it an escaped illegal pet? Or did it hitch a ride on a freighter from up north? Or maybe it just got disoriented and flew too far south.
It looks nice and fluffy.
Tell that to this rodent that ended up like a hairball, neither nice nor fluffy.
Let's get one more look at that skull. Pretty cool.
Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
Gorgeous bird.
So it appears a lot of people give a hoot about seeing the owl.
Okay. Good one.
That's how you start the new year right there. Right?
Best dad joke of the year so far, my friend.
I thought she was going to say something like that first. So I was like, okay.
She said flocking to. That's all you needed to do.
Well, something else that's real cool, and it's a great way to kick off the new year. Some new options for Starbucks lovers. The coffee giant released its pistachio cream cold brew. It features vanilla syrup, pistachio cold foam, and buttery sprinkles. And Starbucks is also re-releasing its pistachio latte. So mixing the flavors up a little bit. And hey, that sounds delightful. How about that?
I'm trying to think of puns. All I got was maybe it's good for cold feather? No? Weather? No, sorry. I'm not as good as you.
Some would say it's a nutty idea.
Oh, man, you're so good. So good, my friend. All right.
Gotta think of them quickly, right?
Yeah. You're very, very witty, my friend. And that's why you're going to be taking track of all the news that's developing throughout the afternoon, having the latest for us coming up on First at 4. Here's one thing you'll be following. The action there on the House floor. A high-stake battle is playing out for House leadership on the GOP side. We are going to continue to track this story coming up in our extended stream as well here on This Is Now. So, as you just saw, a lot of news unfolding throughout the day. Again, Mark has the latest coming up on First at 4, but I want to leave you with this awesome video from a drone show in Kahala for the New Year's. Have a good one.